Good Monday, everyone. I'm Cyrus Webb, and welcome to Conversation Dirty News. Glad you all could be with us. Of course, you have your news headlines coming up on this Monday. I have a message from my book, Word That Choose to Live By, and in today's Entertainment Spotlight, you hear part of my conversation with award-winning author Tina Siemens discussing her love of history and how it's impacting others. You don't want to miss that. Enjoy today's broadcast. For Conversation Dirty News, I'm Cyrus Webb with your Monday headlines. In national news, Chicago teen who started college at 10 earns doctorate degree at 17, says NBC News. Dorothy Jean Tillman II, called Dorothy Genius by family and friends, became the youngest person to earn a doctorate in integrated behavioral health at Arizona State. Dorothy Jean Tillman II's participation in Arizona State University's May 6th commencement was the latest step on a higher education journey the Chicago teen started when she took her first college course at age 10. In between came associate's, bachelor's, and master's degrees. When Tillman successfully defended her dissertation in December, she became the youngest person at age 17 to earn a doctoral degree in integrated behavioral health at Arizona State, the associate professor told ABC's Good Morning America for a story last week. It's a wonderful celebration, and we hope that Dorothy Jean inspires other students, but this is still something so rare and unique. Tillman, called Dorothy Genius by family and friends, is a granddaughter of former Chicago alderwoman Dorothy Tillman. When most students are just learning to navigate middle school, her mother enrolled Tillman in classes through the College of Lake County in northern Illinois, where she majored in psychology and completed her associate's degree in 2016, according to her biography. In more national news, Biden tells Morehouse graduates that scenes in Gaza from the Israel-Hamas war broke his heart. President Joe Biden on Sunday offered his most direct recognition of U.S. students' anguish over the Israel-Hamas war, telling graduates of a historically black Morehouse College that he heard their voices of protest and that scenes from the conflict in Gaza break his heart. I support peaceful nonviolent protests, he told students at the all-male college, some of whom wore Palestinian scarves around their shoulders on top of their black graduation gowns. Your voices should be heard, and I promise you I hear them. Biden said there's a humanitarian crisis in Gaza. That's why I'm calling for an immediate ceasefire to stop the fighting and bring home hostages still being held by Hamas after its militants attacked Israel on October the 7th. The president's comments came near the end of a commencement address in which he also reflected on American democracy and his role in safeguarding it. It's one of the hardest, most complicated problems in the world, Biden said. There's nothing easy about it. I know it angers and frustrates many of you, including my family. But most of all, I know it breaks your heart. It breaks mine as well, he said. To date, Biden has limited his public comments around the protests on U.S. college campuses to upholding the right to peaceful protest. The speech, and a separate one he gave later Sunday in Detroit, are part of a burst of outreach to black constituents by the Democratic president, whose support among those voters has softened since their strong backing helped put him in the White House. In more national news, Ed Dwight, America's first black astronaut candidate, finally goes to space 60 years later, says the Associated Press. Ed Dwight, America's first black astronaut candidate, finally rocketed into space 60 years later, flying with Jeff Bezos' rocket on Sunday. Dwight was an Air Force pilot when President John F. Kennedy championed him as candidate for NASA's early astronaut corps, but he wasn't picked for the 1963 class. Dwight, now 90, went through a few minutes of weightlessness with 5 other passengers aboard the Blue Origin capsule as it skimmed space on a roughly 10-minute flight. He called it a life-changing experience. I thought I really didn't need this in my life, Dwight said shortly after exiting the capsule, but now I need it in my life. I am ecstatic, he said. The brief flight from West Texas made Dwight the new record holder for oldest person in space, nearly 2 months older than Star Trek actor William Shatner was when he went up in 2021. And finally, in entertainment news, If hits a box office nerve with $35 million debut, says the Associated Press. Imaginary Friends movie If claimed the top spot at the box office this past weekend, according to studio estimates on Sunday. Its $35 million North American debut was also a bit lower than some projections. Is that a disappointment, says the Associated Press? An ominous sign of the box office times? Or is the final story on If yet to be written? It's not just your imagination. In these bumpy early weeks of the 2024 summer box office season, in which nothing has been a runaway hit and every new movie has more and more pressure to succeed, If hit a nerve. That made the top 5 movies over the weekend. Number 1, If, with $35 million. Number 2, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, with $26 million. Number 3, The Strangers Chapter 1, with $12 million. Number 4, The Fall Guy, with $9 million. And number 5, Challengers, with $3 million. Cyrus Webb, Conversations Daily News. It's now time for a message from my book, Words I Choose to Live By. Enjoy. Good Monday, everyone. I'm Cyrus Webb, and welcome to Words I Choose to Live By. If you feel beaten down and defeated, abandoned and forgotten, know that your place in life is not proof of anything except that God knows you are one of His strongest and you are able to overcome that which may seem impossible. So let's go do it. Have an amazing Monday. We are part of my conversation coming up with award-winning author Tina Siemens in today's Entertainment Spotlight. Stay with us. You're listening to Conversation Daily News. For Conversation Daily News, I'm Cyrus Webb with your Entertainment Spotlight. Award-winning author Tina Siemens rejoined me on Conversations Live, the radio show, to talk about how her love of history continues to impact others. Here's a bit of our conversation.
Tina, thank you again for the time today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me on. I truly look forward to these conversations because that means that I can share with the world something that I'm so passionate about, and that is history.
Yeah, such a great thing. Tina, I want to talk about the appreciation of history. And, for you and myself, and I think, and I give you a whole lot more credit than I give myself, Tina, I have always loved history, but you have really absorbed yourself in history. I was not that person. I was fascinated by it growing up and learning in school, but you have really taken it to heart and made it part of your mission. What has that been like for you to share your passion of history with others?
Well, that is something that I have absolutely loved seeing, and it kind of has developed over time, because every one of us that loves history, there's so much more than dates and people. There is events. For instance, today marks a very important day in our history, 120 years ago, and that is when think back and look back of where we've come from. It's just so amazing to be able to share that with others. Unfortunately, there's very few people in the world that are truly as passionate about history as I am, but it's so wonderful. If you find a kindred spirit, you get my love for history, and that's just an amazing thing for me to share.
Cyrus Webb, Conversations Daily News. We thank you all for tuning in to this edition of Conversation Daily News. I'll be back to go on tomorrow's more news, a message from my book, Words I Choose to Live By, and of course, Entertainment Spotlight. Until then, my host Cyrus Webb saying, as always, enjoy your day, enjoy your life, enjoy your world. Thank you all for choosing Conversation Daily News today. Now let's go make today amazing. Take care.